Coming up on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we delve into a little bit of the holes that might be coming with the Ole Miss football team this spring, and can they be plugged before the fall? We'll give you our opinion on that. No Derek Vandegrift today. He's a little bit ill, so he'll come back later in the week to talk baseball of the weekend and the upcoming weekend to go. But anyway, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you for tuning in today. As we kind of look at what Ole Miss's football team, the holes it might have going into the fall, and can they be plugged? That's the important thing, because we only have 2 or 3 spots left to go. And so can they be plugged? Anyway, if you want to, today's episode of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast is brought to you by RunYourPool. March Madness is here, and the RunYourPool has the better way to create your bracket. RunYourPool.com, the premier sports pool hosting service. Also, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Thank you for tuning in. This is including YouTube, by the way. So do us a favor and hit subscribe. Hit the bell so you'll be notified of new videos when they post, and of course, upvote the video itself. So, looking at the Ole Miss football team, and this whole show is going to be about Ole Miss football team and potential holes down the way. We're going to basically break off by segment what it will look like for each side of the ball. So, the biggest hole on the offensive line, there's 2 holes potentially. Potentially an offensive lineman might make a little bit of sense, and a wide receiver tends to make a little bit of sense. And that's kind of where we are on the offensive side of the ball. Some people will talk about the running back position. I kind of like where we are at the running back position with Zach Evans, Quinshon Judkins, and Kentrell Bullock. Now, it's not going to look like it did last year. Last year was kind of an anomaly to begin with. Most people go too deep when it comes to running backs. But I expect Zach Evans to be the bell cow of this offense, not just of what's going on, but of this offense. And because of that, I think the offense will be built around what he can do. And I think Quinshon Judkins has the chance to be the backup by the time the end of the season rolls around. He's just a heck of a player. He's a heck of a running back. I was really impressed with his film. His lateral movement is kind of impressive for somebody his size. You see him moving out there like Jerry and Ely, and then you look at him and he's like, whoa, you weigh 200 pounds? And it is a good player. It's one of those situations to where if Alabama and Auburn look at it, it's like, why did this guy leave the state? And it's because Alabama and Auburn are recruiting so nationally. Players like Pike Road are falling between the cracks. It's kind of interesting. Everybody's going national when it comes to recruiting, and because of that, it's basically exposing your home state. There's going to be a new coach come in that's going to recruit a different way, and there's not going to be those roots that you're used to seeing happening inside the state. The era of the Derek Nicks is kind of winding down. You kind of want to have somebody with those contacts now, just in case you need them, but you don't really recruit to them because, why change next year what's been so successful this year? I mean, that's the honest question. Why go full high school and do all that stuff and end up being 7th in the SEC when you are number 1 in the nation in the transfer portal now? Why change the transfer portal when you're number 1 in the country in it? Going the other way is somebody that just wants an event to look for. They like following recruiting. It's fun. They don't understand how to follow the transfer portal. It's less fun. So they want the fun stuff to come back. Back when I worked at Rivals, signing day was really important. It was a big event. And it was the lone signing day. There was no early signing period at that time. And because of it, there was a build-up to signing day that started about mid-January. And official visits started rolling in. And there was a very much systematic effect to how signing day was covered. And once it was over, you started on the next cycle. Well, that isn't the case now because most everybody signs in December on the early signing day. Because of the transfer portal, whatever you don't sign in December is kind of used up on transfer portal guys because the SEC is set up to where you have to be in the portal before February 1st to be immediately eligible. So people like Deion Smith, they get in the portal, nothing's going on with it, but it was about immediate eligibility. Understand that. Malik Heath getting in the portal before February 1st, about immediate eligibility. Jack Abraham getting in the portal before February 1st, about immediate eligibility. That's what that's about. They were always going to be here in June, but in order to secure that immediate eligibility, they had to get in the portal before February 1st. So the two places on offense that I really look at is the wide receiver position and the offensive line position, kind of in that order. I don't look for any other positions to even get a look. I think Jack Abraham is going to transfer in, and he's going to count as a transfer in, but he's going to be a walk-on. So that's going to leave 2 or 3 spots remaining, okay? And I'm already counting Malik Heath, so don't worry anything about that. So I think on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to take one player, and that is going to be Deion Smith from LSU once he can transfer in at the end of this semester, because he's a situation where there's no tampering issue like with the Mississippi State guys like Malik Heath and Jack Abraham. But he just needs the semester ended and him to be in good standing. If he is, I expect him to end up at Ole Miss. Now, remember what I talked about the offense. This offense is going to be very keyed on Zach Evans. This offense is very much going to be a run-first offense next year, especially with a young quarterback at the helm. Either way. So because of that, you want to make sure you are putting big bodies on the outside. So Michael Trigg is going to help on that. Casey Kelly is going to help on that. Hudson Wolf, if he's healthy, is going to help on that. But also big wide receivers. Jonathan Mingo is going to be out there. He's a big guy. He's a big, muscular player. Braylon Brown, I assume, put on some weight. Malik Heath is well over 200 pounds. Deion Smith is trending that way as well. He's kind of thin at the moment, but he's going to grow into that frame. And that is going to help you run the ball. And because of that, your play-action game with Jackson Dart or Luke Altmaier is going to open up. In the middle of the field, Michael Trigg and Jalen Knox is really going to be able to be impacted. So in the way to make the offense most effective is the holes that they need to plug is in, honestly, this is absolutely weird to sound, in the running game. So I look for them to potentially take a wide receiver, somebody that they can groom for the future, because they honestly have big bodies that they can run the ball and do that with now. So Deion Smith could be a special type player, and it'd be interesting to see what it looks like once he gets to Oxford. March Madness is only a few weeks away. That means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual? Are you looking for the best? We've done our homework here, and we're running brackets with RunYourPool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor or Pick X, both really fun in their own way. They have options to edit scoring. They offer more intel to make your picks. All stuff you won't find on ESPN or CBS. If you've got a business, Run Your Pool can help take some of that March Madness magic and play alongside your employees or even gain customers. Plus, they offer full white glove customer service, custom branding, and of course, one of the easiest 3-minute setups you'll ever find. So clearly we believe in Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our own brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. All the rules and details will be available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize. We look forward to seeing you and beating you there. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, hit the upvote button, hit the bell for notifications whenever we post a new video, and of course, upvote the video itself. So if you do that for us, it would be greatly appreciated. We looked at the holes potentially of the offensive unit. Now let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. This is a defense that has done really, really well in the transfer portal. And defensive line-wise, they have increased their versatility tenfold at this point. And that is an impressive thing to see. From Jared Ivey to J.J. Pegues and all those guys in between, they've really made that front three an impressive thing. Because remember, in the 3-2-6, you got 3, you got 2, and you got 6. Now, granted, that 6 is actually 3 and 3, but that's another conversation altogether. So, looking at holes on the defense, at this point, I think they've almost plugged them all. And Corey Coleman potentially playing linebacker is the fill of the needs that I have been looking for. Now, I've told y'all the story about Danny Fortson and why somebody that is used to playing with their hand on the ground, playing without their hand on the ground all of a sudden could be a problem. I've already done that. Now, Corey Coleman has all of the measurables desired to play this position the way they want it to be played. So it's up to him to change over. It is up to him to do the things that he needs to do to be ready as a linebacker. And if he does that, the defense has a chance to be pretty good with him and Troy Brown at the linebacker position. If not, if Corey Coleman cannot adjust to that linebacker position and nobody steps up like Ashante Seastrunk or Austin Keys or somebody like that, or Jaron Willis even, coming in as a true freshman, maybe they could use a transfer portal spot for the linebacker position. Now, it could be something to where after spring they say, okay, we thought this would work and this would look, we need another body here. And that's the type situation that I think will happen if a player is taken on the defensive side of the ball. It's all about filling the hole. I think the main hole that's going to pop up is going to be the linebacker position. Because Troy Brown is Chance Campbell 1-for-1. They're supposed to fit in just like that, however you want to look at it. The Corey Coleman for Mark Robinson is the one that everybody's going to be wondering about. And I don't know if he'll be here in the spring. I don't think he will. So you'll be able to see these backups of whether or not, if he doesn't work, whether or not it's going to be a real problem. So it's something you can pay attention to and see what's going on. And, kind of do whatever you need to do to get ready to really put that in perspective that you can really understand defensively. Because that's literally, much as you hate to say it, that is the one hole on defense. Defensive line were fine. Defensive backs were fine. Even cornerbacks were fine. But the hole would be that second linebacker position, and that's the one we're going to be looking for as spring rolls on. That's the defensive competition, because as a unit, these guys should make it roll. They've got the versatility. Chris Partridge is all about versatility. Ever since he's been at Ole Miss, he's been about cross-training safeties to play all the positions. And because of that, whoever's in the game can line up and play, and it's not a fixed look. If so-and-so lines up at strong safety, it doesn't mean that he's always going to line up at strong safety. So-and-so can line up at strong safety. He could be a box safety. He could be a free safety. All of that stuff. And because of that, it puts the quarterback in a little bit of a pickle. And Partridge is a guy that is big on versatility. As you look at the defensive line, you got personnel there that can play a 4-3. You got personnel there that play a 3-4. So either 4-man or 3-man, you've got the personnel to make it work. I think there's going to be some situations this year where there's a 4-1 defense ran, because we have 3 techniques now. J.J. Pegues could be quite a good 3 technique. He kind of rates as Pere Jerry type on the defensive line. He has a chance to develop into something really, really good. and it'll be interesting to see how he develops over the years. But that's what I look at. The hole on defense might be that singular linebacker position, and it might be something that after spring practice they realize they don't have the backup to do it. They need to get another body in, and that is where I think it will develop. It won't develop on the defensive line. It will not develop in the defensive backfield. So that's kind of the singular spot. Football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos are posted, and of course, upvote the video itself. So we have done the offense and the defense to where the holes potentially might lie that they might attack in the transfer portal. And we have talked in the past about the potential need to get a kicker, a field goal kicker with the situation with Caden Costa. We talked about that yesterday, honestly. And I do think that Ole Miss needs to get a kicker, but I think ultimately it'll be related to how good Lane Kiffin thinks this team is. Why would he waste a grad transfer spot on a kicker and not another hole unless he thinks this team is really good and every point is going to matter? And then just period. So if you look at what goes on, I think one wide receiver gets picked up. I think a kicker gets picked up. And a best available. Because that might be a linebacker because of what we talked about back before about that position. You might just need a body there. It could end up being an offensive lineman. It could end up being a slot receiver. It could be a best, like when I say best available, I mean best available. Now, because of that, you have a pretty well-rounded team. You have a chance to have one of the most talented teams to ever play with the Ole Miss decal on their helmet. Quarterback, Gatorade National Player of the Year. Ole Miss has never had one of those. The first time Jackson Dart starts, if he wins the job, will be the first time a Gatorade National Player of the Year is suited up for Ole Miss and taking a snap or played a game at all, you know. And because of that, you have Zach Evans, who talent-wise might be the best player to ever sign with Ole Miss. I will say this again. Talent-wise, he might be the best player to ever sign with Ole Miss. He's got Adrian Peterson tendencies. Now, I realize this. Everybody's going to talk about what's going on. It's like, whoa, Steve, you're just pumping sunshine. And that's not the case. 5-star running back. Somebody that Ole Miss would not have really had a chance to get and would have been at Georgia or Alabama other than the fact that he had a little bit of a mental freak out his senior year and ended up at TCU. Ole Miss was able to get him the second time around because I'll talk about in recruiting. It's important now to finish in the top 2 of high school recruiting. It's not important to get him. Just finish in the top 2. Because whenever he gets ticked off where he goes, you're going to be his first call. And you're going to have a chance to get him without the one-time transfer fee. So everything can kind of go status quo. So the plan is, obviously, Zach Evans is probably going to run for 1,700 yards. This is the plan. This is, not what's going to happen. And he's going to go pro. And Quinshon Judkins will take over from there, but that's the plan. Now, the offense has a chance to be very effective because of Zach Evans. It's going to make Jackson Dart or Luke Altmaier very effective offensively. These wide receivers on the outside, not only are they blockers, they are good wide receivers. You have a tight end. And we saw when Kenny Yeboah was here what that position can do in this offense. Jalen Knox, closer to an Elijah Moore than a Dontario Drummond, playing at the slot receiver. This offense has a chance to be extremely dangerous by the time they get going. They just really have a chance to be special. And it all starts with Zach Evans. So, understand the blocks, understand the way they're building their offensive line, understand all of that stuff, and know that somebody like Zach Evans playing offensive running back is going to open up so much in the play pass game with Jackson Dart, to Michael Trigg, to Jalen Knox, to Jonathan Mingo, to Braylon Brown, because I do think Braylon Brown's going to end up starting, because he would have been a 5-star if the recruiting class would have been normal. So understand that the offense has a chance to be the most special offense that has ever played at Ole Miss. It is the most amazing put together of players group that I've ever seen at Ole Miss. And I go back to the mid-70s. Defensively, they have a chance to be pretty stout. And with the 3 for safety defense being a primary component of what they do, with other stuff mixed in, they have a chance to be really effective. And you can really throw off quarterbacks, as we saw last year. I mean, Zach Calzada was a thing. That happened. And that was because of the 3 safety defense. But the way I look at it in the transfer portal, I look for a wide receiver, Deion Smith, to sign. So that'll bring us down to 2 players. I look for a kicker to be signed. And I look for a best available. Whether linebacker, whether offensive lineman, probably one of those 2 positions. And because of that, there's just not many holes going into spring. There's not many overt questions of what's going on if everybody performs. Now, if somebody doesn't perform and there's a hole that develops, this transfer portal thing could completely fall apart. It could completely change. If Troy Brown gets there and struggles with the 3 safety defense and playing in a 3-2-6, that's going to be a problem going into the fall. So just understand that. So I'm looking forward to spring practice. Again, I'm Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining me today. Derek Vandegrift normally comes by today and talks about the weekend that was. He's a little bit under the weather today. We'll try and get him a little bit later in the week to talk about VCU and look at Central Florida. So we've got that. So thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Again, we'll get Derek Vandegrift later in the week. We also have Kara McCutcheon and Tom Vanderford. And now make the second listen, Locked On Ole Miss Draft. Ryan Tracy and former cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and the NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Like I said, a little bit change of a schedule. Hopefully we can get that fixed because I really like it when Derek comes on and talks a little baseball. All right. Anyway, until tomorrow, hotty toddy.